Hey everyone, thanks for joining us. The next episode of Red Valkyrie is about to start. Hi everybody, welcome to another episode of Red Valkyrie. I am your host, Shae Zombie, and I am super happy to be here with the incredibly talented Michael Bancroft. How are you, sir?
I'm doing very well, thank you. Thank you for having me on.
Absolutely. I'm super excited for this. So you have this really awesome comic called The Lucent, and this is one of the few comics that I can fully admit I knew nothing about when I first heard about it. I clicked on it, I went through your campaign page, and I backed that day.
Oh, great.
Everything just seems so well put together. It seems 1,000% up my alley, and I'm super excited for it. So normally we kick right off into you doing your pitch. Before we do that, you have such a good promo video. We're going to play the video first, and then we're going to go over the pitch. Sound good?
Excellent. Let's do it.
All right.
When dreams and reality collide, a life is turned upside down. Thrust into a conflict where ancient shadows fight secret wars. For control of the future. Her allies hide in plain sight, but so do her enemies.
I just love it. It's so good.
Bit of that cinematic atmosphere.
It's so good. Okay, so just to full disclosure, I am a massive video production kind of snob type person because I've seen so many really poorly done edits where people don't I'm really big on cutting on beats and going with the music, so it's not, the music isn't just something there to be kind of nice, or the sound effects aren't there to be something nice, it's something there to add effect. And you did such a good job.
Well, thank you. Yeah, I actually cut this first, being the noob that I am. I cut it all first, and then I thought I'll just put some music that I like over it. And immediately, within 10 seconds, like, oh, this isn't going to work. Yeah, no. Nothing is connected. It had that exact same feeling. So I was like, oh, crap, what am I going to do now? I've put in all this work. I found some guys, they have some really cool cinematic audio. And it's all in bits and pieces, and you can just layer it all together, and all worked fine. And that's what I did. It may have taken me a couple of days to knock it out, but yeah, it was well worth the time, I think.
Well, and it really just, it sells this whole atmosphere that you're doing with this, because the thing that made me back instantly when I went and checked out your page was, the more I was looking at it, the more I was getting kind of like a little bit of a Constantine, a little bit of Matrix, a little bit of these kinds of this world but not this world feel. And I was like, dude, this is really cool. And then going through and looking at the artwork, I was like, and she's a redhead. I'm obviously obligated now to back this book. I get to pretend that I'm her because she's awesome and super hot, and I'm just going to pretend that I am the same. But you are doing really good, especially for this being your first campaign. So you are almost at 10K, and that needs to happen. You are less than $100 away from it.
Yeah, it's been insane. It's been nuts. I had no idea that this would happen. Literally no idea. I was hoping, like, by the end of it, if I could get 100 backers, I wouldn't be a laughing stock, and we got that in almost the first day. And yeah, so I was just, to see this sitting on almost 10,000 and over 200 backers, we just hit that yesterday. Wow, I just can't thank everyone enough who's backed this.
I mean, if we're gonna be honest, it's a really good concept, and it seems really, really well put together. So before we keep gushing over that part, let me just go ahead and let you do your pitch so people know why I am so excited about this book.
Yep, sure. Okay, so Waking Dream, it's the first book in the Lucent series, so it's an ongoing series. And this first book, you're going to get 76 pages in that full trade, that perfect bound format. And 56 pages of that. It might actually end up being a couple more than that, but they're going to be the story, and then you're going to have 14 pages of bonus material. And we've just unlocked an extra print as well, so every backer gets another print too, a full color print. So that's going to be really cool. But the Lucent, it's like I said, it's an ongoing series. It's like sci-fi fantasy series, and the Lucent is about, like you were saying earlier, shadow societies hiding in plain sight. And the world isn't exactly what we think it is. And what they're up to is they're training certain people to tap into these locked abilities and these hidden abilities inside them. And they're using them to fight in their secret wars that they're carrying out. But in the Waking Dream, this is where we meet her, Ella Forsyth. She's the main character. And yeah, she's just a young woman leading what looks to be an ordinary life, except there's one big difference with her. Every night when she sleeps and she dreams, she's visited by this really enigmatic, mysterious, arrogant, brash character called Damon Spectre. And he's teaching her things in the dreams. And it's all going to come to a head when the barrier between dreams and reality, it starts to kind of break down for her. And things are going to take place in this book, and she's going to be thrown right into the middle of this this sort of secret world that exists all around her that she can't see. And yeah, that's it's going to turn everything in her life upside down, and it's going to have the potential to turn everything we know upside down eventually. But yeah, so if you like mystery, suspense, a bit of super powered action, a bit of romance in there as well, it's a story where our historical figures and myths and legends, they're like brought to life. It's it's woven into the story, and yeah. So like you said earlier with the Matrix, that sort of reality bending stories, people have also said it reminds them of the Highlander with the way it reimagines history and brings that into the story, and also games like Assassin's Creed 2. And yeah, so if that's up your alley, then yeah, you should probably consider backing the Lucent. And that's my pitch.
I wholeheartedly agree. So who is your artist on this?
That would be me.
Okay, so this is your work.
This is all me. This is
You're
all me, Shae.
Insane, dude. Holy shit. Holy shit.
I've been cooking up this bad boy. The story going on for about a decade. It's been a long time in development, and then the whole art and comic side of it going on about 5 years now.
Holy freaking crap.
Yeah, dude. I just whipped out. See that poster there? I just whipped that out in the last couple of weeks while I'm campaigning.
I can't. Oh my gosh. Okay. Composure. Seriously, this is really well done. And the fact that you do all of it is it's mind-boggling. There's not many who are
There's some of us out there.
Huh?
There's some of us out there
who
are doing it all.
But here's the thing, is normally when you have somebody who is their writer, their artist, line artist, colorist, letterer, everything, something gives. And something gives pretty terribly. You know what I mean? Like normally it's like, wow, this is really beautiful art. Oh, the story's kind of shit. But everything that I've seen so far, I'm super impressed. I'm very
Well,
impressed
thank you,
because
Shae.
like let's talk perspective for like 2 seconds on your cover. That perspective, it's not like this isn't an easy reference to find. Just like you can find somebody falling off of a cliff or a building or something and go, oh, that's what it looks like. So
Yeah,
you have a really good understanding of your perspective. Nothing feels, when you look at it, nothing feels odd to your eye, which is a very, very difficult thing to do.
it's that cover was a long time conceptualized. I really struggled over that because I wanted to have a cover that just captures, not only the Lucent, this idea of, a bit of reality bending and things aren't quite what they seem, and multi-layered. Is she falling? Is she rising? Is she coming at you? What's happening? It's reflected in a thing. That's all part of it. And but you are right. Getting that perspective, and the perspective is very, forced too. It's the angles are really.
Oh
It's
yeah.
almost like a fisheye.
When you have a ton of foreshortening going on, which can go horribly wrong so easily. And the fact that you were doing this UV spot glass cover, like
that's about to be unlocked too.
So excited. Okay,
we got
so
less than $100 away from that.
Less than $100, people.
Yeah,
I want this UV spot.
when I conceptualized this, it was with the UV spot. So, and then I did the cover, and I did it, and I drew it, and I colored it, and everything, and then I checked the prices, and I was like, holy shit, what have I done?
Damn it!
It can get expensive unless you're printing quantity. Thankfully, though, once you print quantity, it's not that much more expensive.
Once you hit a certain threshold, it's really not that bad. But until you hit that threshold, and this being your first book, that's a hard threshold to hit for sure.
Absolutely. Yeah, see, I'm looking at a lot of guys. I put a lot of guys on my channel too, and they're not there yet. And so that sort of kept me up at night, had me worried. But thankfully, we're so close now.
Oh man! And at 15, you get a 10-page full color book 2 preview. Okay, so you have currently 5 days left, correct?
Of the initial 30-day campaign, I'm going to extend it.
Good.
For that 10-page preview.
I was like, I can push this, and you will get to 10K in 5 days. I don't know that I can push this and get you to 15 in 5 days.
No, yeah. When I saw, I just didn't know. I saw, okay, it looks like we could actually get to 10K within this first period. Oh, and then when I saw that, I said, what then do I want to do for the next period? Well, I want that extra thing. I want people to, because the way the story is it is it a cliffhanger? Yeah, a little bit. It's the moment when she's going to pass the point of no return, in a sense. She's going to be fully stepping out of the life that she was living, and there's no real going back. That's sort of where this book ends. But then, then you're leaving readers like, well, I want to see some of that.
Right.
So I want to give you a little glimpse of that with a little preview comic of the second book.
Well, and you saying that, it reminds me, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, because I don't actually know a ton about this book. I know what I've seen in the campaign page, and I know what I've heard you talk about before. Mm-hmm. But there's that one moment in Constantine where he's with that woman, and she's about to kind of get a glimpse into what he deals with, and he holds her underwater in a bathtub until she technically dies. Mm-hmm. And she has that moment of fear where it's like, what is happening, panic and everything like that. And then she's in the other realm. And when she comes back, your world is never the same after that. There is no, I'm going to go back to what life used to be like. I'm just going to go and relax and have my cup of tea and not, know that any of this horrifying, evil exists in the world. You can't unring that bell. And this gives me that same kind of vibe where it's like, maybe she kind of understands some stuff and she's just kind of trying to cope. And then she hits a point where she's like, you can't go back from this. This is it.
Yeah. In this first book, she's sort of living in a fantasy world that she's going to find out is a lot more constructed around her than she could ever have imagined. And, without giving too much away, that's exactly right. you'll find that even on this page here, people can come and sort of read my writing here and get a sense of what it's going to be like. And it's on this page here. You know, she's dreaming of more than what she has. She is, you know, thinking of a life of importance, something that matters, to do something with, you know, what she has inside her, even if she doesn't understand what that is. But the dream and the reality of what it's going to actually be like are going to be very different. She is probably the opposite of someone like Rey from the new so-called Star Wars. She's not going to once it all hits home, she's not going to land on her feet running, that's for sure. The reality is going to be quite different to what she imagined a life of importance would be. And you're exactly right. There is no real going back once you've crossed the Rubicon. It's different from there on out.
Dude, and like the detail, okay, the small details that you have here are just, I've stared at this I don't know how many times. This is the first time I've ever noticed she's reflected right here, standing on the ledge.
So this is a double page spread. Yeah, so you read the text and hopefully your eye kind of, you know, your eye is drawn to the text, and then you should, as you read down, hopefully notice her in the reflection there. And you go, okay. And then you keep reading, and then you'll notice, well, okay, so she's reflected, and that'll like make you look for her in the scene, standing there on the ledge. And this is sort of when we meet her for the first time as an adult. And she's having this, well, I don't want to get too much into it, but, you know, this is sort of a bit of a metaphor for her starting off as a character. She's on the ledge. And she's contemplating, you know, diving into the abyss, into the unknown, into chaos. And this is a theme that's going to be continuing on throughout the series. This jumping off from high places. It's a bit of a thing that happens in dreams. It's a bit of a metaphor that we kind of, a lot of us are familiar with, the leaping off high places into the unknown, sometimes falling, sometimes uncontrollably. And so this is something that will be popping up again and again throughout the series. Well, so I thought it was a good thing to start with for her.
It really, okay, so I have a question. Is this like the giant Ferris wheel that you have in the background? Is that kind of like the London Eye?
It is London. Yeah, there's no...
Okay, I was
London.
checking.
She's in London. And this is in London. It's not real London. This is a bit of a stylized artist impersonation of London, because there's not one real perspective point that you can stand on and see all these icons. There's Big Ben and the cathedral there in the background as well. I think if you scroll back up, you can see the Gherkin reflected in that building. That's, just there. See the Gherkin is reflected in one of those buildings, that funny shaped building there. The reason I really think this style goes well with this story is I want the strangeness and the fantasy to feel real when it happens. If it's sort of, you got this realistic foundation, when the craziness happens, hopefully, it'll feel all the more important and have a lot of impact. The people in this story, they have strange abilities, and I like to play with the idea of like, what would it actually be like? You know, if people were like this in real life, what would the impact be? There'd be massive consequences, huge civilization-wide consequences. So that's sort of why I like to have these, moments of like really kind of realistic buildings and all that sort of stuff. Yeah, it really kind of grounds it in that.
Well, so, and this is something else that I wanted to kind of highlight. Like I said, normally when you have somebody who's doing it all, something suffers, either the storytelling or the lettering or the art or colors, something. And I legitimately am having a very difficult time finding what you fail at, because I just don't see it. And this isn't me gaslighting, despite my name. I'm not trying to just, egg you on or say that something is something that it isn't. But the way that you've written this right here, I'm a super big poetry junkie nerd kind of person. And the way that you have these 4 little narration blocks down at the bottom here, I feel like that's something that a lot of people have felt at some point in their life, that no matter what waited for her below, it couldn't be worse than standing still. Everybody has felt that. Everyone has had that moment where you go, I'm not progressing and I'm not okay with that.
Mm-hmm.
You know? And so it's like, it doesn't, sometimes you just have to take a leap of faith. And she
Mm-hmm.
is literally taking a leap of faith.
Yep.
As she just, and the way that you did it, where it was one of those, she's so done with not progressing, not moving forward, to the point that she doesn't even open her eyes. She just lifts her head and leans back into the void. For whatever reason, for me, that is such a poetic way to say, like, I'm just gonna go for it. We're gonna see what happens. But I can't stand still any longer. I have to do something different.
Yep.
And it could be a complete shit show. I could die from this. That could be the end of everything. But I'll never know unless I take the leap.
That's exactly right. You've hit the nail on the head there. And and we've spoken about this before in previous streams too, about how I'm really into the sort of more poetic style of prose and like capturing the right rhythm and everything in that. So yeah, I'm glad you feel that way. This page, it needed to hit home because it's sort of laying down where she's at, mentally at the start of this story. And as well, I'm trying not to give too much away here.
I know.
There's also different parts of her that are stuck and can't find a way forward.
Right.
And a lot of her character arc is going to be the struggle between those two halves of herself. This one that does need to, move and get out whatever is inside her, because she can feel it. She doesn't know what it is, but she knows that there's something special inside her. And then there's the other half that has other responsibilities and has normal fears and is afraid to take that plunge. And a lot of her struggles that she's going to come into, have to face throughout as this series goes on, will be a direct result of those two sides of her just not being able to work together to help herself out. So yeah, that's sort of part of her character as well.
Well, if you're going to talk about it from a human perspective and from a psychological perspective, those two halves of ourselves cannot coexist at the same time. One is always active while the other is dormant, because they directly contradict one another. You have one side that wants to push forward and one side that is so terrified of what it might find, it wants to desperately stay in place, because even if where you are is horrible, it's a horrible that it's the evil that you already know. And so you don't have to learn new rules.
It's a bit Hamlet.
Yeah. This is what happens is your art and your storytelling, from what I've seen so far, is to that level that it's actually making me want to kind of like philosophize and start like I'm gonna start going back and reading a lot of poetry and just get real deep for a minute.
Look, I have tried to write and create somewhat of a cerebral adventure story here. I do want people to think. I do want people to feel the emotions that especially that she's going through. She's the Luke Skywalker in this story. She's the one who starts off without really understanding the world she's living in, and then events are going to take place, and we're going to see this crazy hidden secret world through her eyes, and it's going to be shocking and it's going to be surprising. And I do want people to go along with her on that ride and go through that emotional experience with her. So that's sort of what I've been going for. So I'm glad you picked up on that.
Yeah, well, and it's a really interesting kind of take to do, where it's taking somebody who is truly innocent, somebody who is naive about how the world works or about how aspects of things happen, and taking them through a like growing up period without it feeling ham-fisted, without it feeling, you know, way over the top. And I think that at least from what I've seen so far, you're doing a good job of making her relatable. And she's, you know, she's not like 12. Like
Yeah.
she's a young adult. She's
Yeah.
what, 20s?
She's in her early 20s.
Yeah. So, and most of us in our early 20s, especially when you're talking women, most of us in our early 20s have a very naive view of what the world is actually like, but you feel the pressure of being an adult. You feel the pressure of all of these things are expected of me. All of these things are things that I need to do that I'm not responsible for. I have to start making decisions. I have to have opinions. Like things have to happen a certain way now. But you still feel like a teenager and you don't really know how to make those things happen. And it's everybody has kind of like that catalyst point where they go from feeling like a little teenager and feeling like you don't know what you're doing to, oh my gosh, I get it now. And you lose some of that innocence and some of that like wonderment, and you kind of get a little bit gritty and a little bit hardened. And it's hard to convey that in a way that makes people feel like, hey, we're going on this journey together, and you get to see it. And it doesn't necessarily break your heart, but it just kind of makes you go like, ah, yeah, I remember that feeling.
Well, and as well, she's in a strange situation. She's in a very strange situation. She has a trauma from her past, like a lot of good heroes do. But it doesn't really play into her thinking day to day. It's more something that she carries subconsciously. It happened to her when she was very young. Mm-hmm. But more than anything, she just doesn't feel like she connects to the real world very well. And right. As much as she might try, she also just has other commitments. She has a grandfather that is basically infirm, and it's her responsibility she puts it on herself to look after him. So she has huge amounts of compassion in that sense. She sort of put her life on hold for him. And that's a big part of why she is sort of stuck where she is. And this is part about her. And you're going to see this straight away in the book. So it's not really a spoiler. It's sort of the first part that you're going to see of her. You know, she is this, when she's dreaming, she is this other person. She gets to be the person that she
always wanted to be.
She thinks she wants to be, and she has inside her.
Yep.
And it's sort of where she can be all that. And then add on top of that, as I mentioned earlier, she dreams about this guy, and this guy is sort of, he's doing crazy stuff with her in her dreams. Look what she's getting up to on the cover here.
Right.
She's not, she's doing fantastical stuff.
Yeah, this isn't a normal response to like, I'm on a building in my dream, I'm just gonna toss myself off the edge. Like normally, like other people were saying, you're falling uncontrollably, and it's not something you want to do. It's something that just happens. And you're like, oh shit, how do I survive?
Yeah, so exactly. And she's kind of living two lives in a sense. And that's what this first book, Waking Dream, it's sort of, I hope that title is sort of not too ambiguous, but ambiguous enough that it sort of describes what's going to happen in this story.
This is a really exciting book. Okay, so to let the chat know, we are on a little bit of a time crunch. Mike is nice enough to be doing this on his lunch break. So if you have questions, start posting them now. And so we've got time to ask them, because we are about almost 30 minutes into the stream. We have a hard cutoff at another 30 minutes. So make sure if you've got questions to start posting them now. And while they are thinking, Mike, let me have you go over your tiers.
Yep. All right. So the first one, that's a featured one. You get the book and a head sketch. And this head sketch, what does it say there? 8.25 by 11.5 inch. So it's a bit bigger than the book. And it comes on this really nice premium quality watercolor card.
Okay.
And so you can actually pick what character you want on there. I've got the 4 characters that I'm going to be drawing for these on the page down below. Most people will and have picked Ella, because that's the one that I'm showing there.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's what you get for that. And I've been told that's very cheap, so jump on that.
Yes, for a head sketch, people. This is the head sketch that is. So you said A4 card. So this is like a piece of printer paper.
Yep. Yeah.
Okay.
But it's not on printer paper.
No. I'm
Yeah, I know
saying
what you're
size wise.
Size wise.
So
yeah. I got you.
I'm converting for the Americans who don't know what A4 is.
Yeah. Well, it's written there, 8.25 inch by 11.5
So
inch.
yeah,
It's bigger than a comic book.
Yeah,
it'll be a nice piece of art. And I know I just like drawing this stuff. I'm a digital artist, so I really enjoy getting out the old pens and drawing on a piece of paper for real. So yeah, I'm happy to do it. People want to buy it, I'm happy to do it.
Well, I mean, 65 is super cheap. I'm actually about to go check and see where I backed at, because if I'm not getting a head sketch, then I might need to fix that. Okay, so next you have the signed book. Yep.
So that's just the standard thing. You get the set. You get the full book, 76 pages, but you're also going to get whatever else I add in the stretch goals. So already you're getting the print, which is again A4 size. That 8.25 by 11.5 inch. That'll be on card as well. So that's nice full color gloss print as well for your $25. And if we get to the 15K, you'll get the extra preview comic too.
That good shit. You're just making it really advantageous to back.
A lot of bang for your buck, hopefully.
I'm just gonna give you all of the things. Sound good? Good.
Yeah.
Just take everything.
Not all the things. There's other things to come. So when I launched, everyone who backed on the first day got one of these little sketch cards. So that's a normal trading card size on the same kind of paper as the head sketch. And yeah, so I've got like 130 of them to draw, because I got about that many on the first day, which was incredible. And I thought, if people missed out, they might want to get one as well. So I've added that tier in too, so you can get a little sketch card with your book as well. Awesome. And everything else. And I'm printing some posters, and they're A3 size, so that's double the size of the head sketch. It's 16.5 inch by 11.5 inch, and that's going to be a fold out. So it's going to have a fold in it. That's the only way I can send it all in the same package. And that's of that double page spread that we're seeing here. That's the buildings.
Such a pretty, it's such a pretty scene to be in a poster, because it's got those nice, like, everybody loves sunsets and sunrises, right? So you've got all of that, like, we're starting to go into dusk and everything's a little bit blue and a little bit sad, but also still really pretty. So that's a really good image to have for a poster. I think it's a good move.
Thank you. I like it.
Yeah.
And then you can get one with everything. So you get the book, the sketches, like a head sketch, a little card, and the poster. And I'm pretty sure you get a little discount on that if you get that tier.
Nice.
And here is my page art. So yeah, I'm redoing the ink on a small number of these. They're my favorite pages from the book, and 2 have already been snapped up, and that's super cool. I'm so happy about that. I didn't know if anyone would buy them, but yeah, this is on, like, again, really nice paper, professional art paper. And yeah, I'm just going to take a page like I have there, and re-ink it. Yeah, and that one's already completed. So now I have to have a couple more to do. But I love doing these. This is so much fun. Okay, so there's something that I do after dinner. Just kind of sit down and that's the page there.
Yeah. So this page right here is this one.
That's right. Yep.
Oh gosh, so cool. All right, so there are many ways to back. I'm deeply considering upping my backing, because I apparently backed at this level, and while this is amazing, I kind of want that. That head sketch is gorgeous.
It is pretty cool.
Something along those lines is definitely That would be something that would be really cool to have hanging up in your office. And I've got some really cool artwork done by Josh Metz that's sitting up right over here in front of me. I've got some cool stuff from Chibi Selena in the back and Wary Canary. So I'm collecting all of these pieces of art. I'm just kind of putting them all around my office and going like, yeah, these are some awesome artists. So we might be changing our backing.
Well, thank you. That's awesome.
I might just back you again. Cool. So the tiers, there's a lot that you can do with them. A lot of different levels that you can back at, and you guys definitely should consider doing so. He's very, very close to
so close.
Okay, I mean, you have somebody basically back that and someone back the book, and you should be there. I think just about. Maybe just you'd be just shy. That's
It's going to be a party when that happens. I'll tell you that, because that is just something I just didn't ever expect to be happening, especially not in the first month. That's just like you said, a new guy, unknown story. I'm just so grateful.
I mean, you have a great looking project here, and you can tell just based on the care that you've put into it. You can tell that you really believe in what you're creating and that you have a lot of passion behind it. And that comes through in your campaign page, that comes through in the pages that we can see already of the book. It makes people go, I'm excited because you're excited. And I really, really want to just I want to be a part of this. So I think that's really working in your favor.
Well, thank you. Looks like we do have a couple of questions.
We have a crap ton of questions. So we're going to start at the top, and some of them are kind of jokey, and we're going through all of them. So Froggy wants to know, which do you do first, peanut butter or jelly when making a PB&J?
I don't eat PB&J. My wife does, but I'm a bit of a purist. I like both by themselves. Being an Aussie, it's like people eat Vegemite sandwiches here, which I find disgusting. But let me think. I'll answer the question, even though I don't eat it normally. I would eat it. I'd probably go. We call it jam too, by the way. The jelly.
So jam and jelly are two. Well, I guess because it's jam and preserves for you guys, right?
Yeah, whatever it is. I would probably go the jelly first. Is that wrong? I don't know. Is that sacrilege?
Oh, how do you spread the peanut butter if the jam's already on there?
Now I'm thinking about it. Maybe one on each piece of bread, and then you squeeze it together. Yeah. That's probably how I'd do it. And then it wouldn't really matter.
Exactly. Oh, that's hilarious. Okay. Okay, so we have, when do you think you're going to finish the book?
Okay, so the book is, if you see on my campaign page, like all of the pages look pretty much exactly how you see them, the ones that I have up there finished. They all have colors in them. Obviously, they'll have line art. I'm going through and I'm fixing up some little things that I'm not happy with. I'm fixing up some of the colors that need to be updated because I've learned so much in the last 6 months to a year about coloring that I realized that what I had originally just wasn't up to snuff. So I'm going back and doing that. Every page has all the lettering in it, but it's not all to the degree that I need it to be. It's not all consistent and exactly how I want it to be for print. Mm-hmm. So yeah, it's really hard to say. I'm in a bit of a weird state right now because the whole campaigning thing has really just thrown me off my game. I have a really strict schedule for working on this book, and look, it's going to be a matter of months. I've put in there a full year just because I don't want anyone to say later, "Oh, your book is late." I don't know. It's my first campaign. I have no idea what was going to happen with this, but we're talking months. We're not talking a year or anything. Definitely not anything longer than that. I want to, I've got a long story to tell here, so I want to earn your guys' trust. Get this thing out, get it looking perfect, but also in a timely manner. Absolutely.
Right. So are you thinking, are you trying to set your goal to have the book at least done by the end of the year?
Oh yeah, no, it's going to be done. I mean, when I say, it's hard to put a number on it because it's all a bit iffy,
Right.
but it's 65% done. And when I say that, like I said, all the stuff is in there. So it just needs some tweaking and some fixing and some maybe a little bit of rewording here and there.
Okay.
But yeah, no, definitely it's happening this year.
Oh, fantastic. That makes me excited.
Because I want to get the second book out next year, and then the next book out the year after that. So yeah,
every year you're gonna have a new book.
That's the plan. And with the way that people have responded to this, I'm just going to have to, reshuffle my life to make sure that I can do that. And people out there. That's right. That's exactly right. Yeah. So, if people are out there and they like this and they want it, and they keep supporting me, I'm only more than happy to put in all the work necessary to give them what they want.
That is also very, very pleasing to hear. Just like Luke is saying, a man with the plan. Hell yeah. And now we've made Froggy hungry.
Try Vegemite sandwich. You won't be hungry after that.
Yeah. Oh, Blue Samurai is saying Vegemite goes on thick like peanut butter, right, Michael?
Unfortunately, I don't know. People eat it. I don't know what goes on in those Vegemite households. We don't even have Vegemite in our house. So, because my wife is French, she has the same reaction to it to every other person who's not Australian.
Yeah.
But for some reason, I never got into the extremely salty tar-based black yeast extract like all other Australians.
I like how you word it to make sure that people don't feel the need to try. You're like, it is a yeast extract, and everyone goes, ooh. That doesn't sound very good.
It's on the jar. It's on the jar.
People aren't reading jars. Come on now. All right. So Fenrir Fire wants to know: have you had fun creating this comic from start to finish?
Let me tell you, when I finally decided I'm going to tell a story, I spent a good 5 years learning how to write and how to craft a story. And yeah, I was doing that like I'm doing now in my lunch break, before work, after work, on my weekends. And to me, that's the best fun you can have in making a story, is the writing process. It's a shame, when you become an artist too, you can't do more of it. But when I decided, no, this is going to be a comic book, pretty much every day for 5 years, I've been getting up early, and the first thing I want to do is draw. And when I get home from work, I want to draw, and I want to, work on the book. So yes, absolutely. I'm having the time of my life, and I'm even enjoying sharing it on YouTube now. That's something I didn't think I would like doing, but it's really grown on me. And now I love talking about it, because apparently there's people out there who love hearing about it. So yeah, it's a good combination.
I mean, so we're streaming at a time that is quite late for us and way outside of our normal time. And I still am getting about the same amount of viewers that I get when I do my normal streams. So you talking about this, there's a story to tell there, and there's something that people want to hear. And this is with how many other people are streaming right now. I think EBS was live. I know that we're unfortunately streaming against my friend Ink, and all kinds of stuff. But we've got people who want to hear about your story, because it's that interesting and it seems that well thought out and put together. And I'm over the moon that we were able to get you on to talk about this.
Well, thank you. I saw that Kemosabe has unsubbed me because I said there's no Vegemite in my house. I'm sorry, Kemosabe. I'm terribly un-Australian.
So it's okay, Chemo. There's no Vegemite in my household either, but I'm also not Australian, so I don't think that there would be.
It is a bit blasphemous, I have to say. People do look at you sideways when you say I don't eat Vegemite. They're like, what do you mean?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of stuff that Americans like. Americans love fluffernutter sandwiches, and they're too sweet for me. So
yeah.
CG World Order wants to know, at the 10K tier, do we get a hot car stream?
He's referring to I usually do my lunch hour streams from work, and I've been doing them. I've been able to do it like right at my desk because the office has been empty for 4 months now. And the other day, I had to go out into my car because people outrageously decided to come back to work. Thankfully, there's no one in here today, so I'm back at my desk. But I had to go out into my car, and even though it was a freezing cold day, the sun was just beating down on the windshield, and I was dying in that car.
I hate that. I always end up turning on my AC, and then people are like, "Why does it sound like you're in a wind tunnel?" I was like, "You're gonna have to learn to live with it because it is too hot."
Yeah, I had to go out into the side of that, like the side of the warehouse, and it was all a shambles. It was my most shambolic stream ever, that's for sure.
Froggo wants to know, what kind of sheets do you use when sleeping nude? He uses bamboo sheets.
I haven't tried bamboo. I'm more of a 100% cotton or a linen cotton blend. There you go.
There, all right, there you are, Froggy. If you want to be like Mike, you can go get yourself some cotton or linen cotton blend.
The important question.
So a little bit more serious question. Do you have any activities that help elevate and ignite your creative process and motivation?
Yeah, I listen to music. That's my thing. Especially when I was writing this. This is before, when I started writing this, we didn't have any kids yet. And my wife and I, we would be going to gigs every weekend.
Mm-hmm.
And I would just stand in the crowd and I just see these people up on the stage, putting their creative work out in front of people, and the whole room is just energized, and I'd be feeling the music, and it would just be like, the muse just inserting ideas into my head and emotions, and I would come away from every concert or gig just super pumped to, write more and do more and, explore more of the world that I've created. And yeah, so that's all. And now I don't get to go to gigs really anymore because I've got kids and we can't really get away from them. But that didn't sound right. You know what I mean?
Did you try locking them in a room? I feel like that they're small. It can be difficult for them to get out.
But yeah, if I have a particularly kind of emotional scene to draw, or if I'm thinking I'm going to sit down and write, I'll put on like the right kind of music beforehand and just get myself into that headspace. And yeah, that's it. It's really, I think it has really helped me with just capturing the right emotions and all that sort of stuff. So yeah, that's where I'm coming from.
That's awesome. Luke wants to know, do you have any traditional stuff anymore, or is it all digital?
Well, not right now. Just the sketches that I'm doing is the first traditional stuff that I've done in a long time. My background is in more t-shirt design, believe it or not. I've been pretty successful making and selling my own t-shirts, selling them through sites like Threadless and stuff like that. And I was doing a little bit of traditional then. But yeah, just ever since I got my tablet, I don't know, I just found myself a lot more productive. Can just kind of really pump stuff out. And yeah.
Well, and it's a lot easier when you go back and you see that you drew something wrong and you have to change it, because you can't erase a hole through your tablet.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. I was painting some pretty big pieces a while back, but now we don't have the wall space to put them on because they're too big, so they're out in the shed, which is a bit of a shame. But
I hate that.
Yeah, and now I'm happy doing digital, but I'm enjoying doing these these sketches and stuff as sort of just a way to unwind.
Yeah. No, that makes perfect sense.
I've drawn these faces so many times now. It's like it's just kind of
in your sleep.
Exactly. I turn my brain off, maybe put on a movie that I can listen to, and yeah, just go from there.
Poland wants to know, you seem to be a bit of a Renaissance man. Is there any art form you have not dabbled in?
Poland's my boy. He streams with me every day. That I've not dabbled in. Oh, I'm struggling to think. I've been an art person since as far back as I can remember. In high school, I won the art. I was that idiot that everyone hated who won the art prizes and things. Yeah, no, I'm sure there is. But yeah, I think I've pretty much touched on everything at some point during my life. Like I'm struggling to think of a thing. Like I really like to learn things.
Right.
So I haven't been good at everything. In fact, I've probably been really terrible at most things. But when I find something that I can do and I enjoy doing it, I get a bit obsessed with it. And I've been obsessed with drawing comics now for 5 years, and it doesn't show any sign of slowing down.
So Poland says, I knew it, Michael the Phenom.
Well, thank you, good sir. We love Poland.
There's a couple of people out there that really do just kind of have that kind of talent like you do, where they're just, able to look at something and go, this seems really interesting, I'm going to learn how to do it. And then you pick it up and you're like, oh, look, I just happened to make this really amazing thing. And now I'm done and I'm going to move on to the next thing on my list of 500 that I want to learn. So it's looking at what you got going for your comic. I am not even a little shocked that is something that you tend to do.
And it's the story that's kept me here. It's these characters that's kept me here. So yeah, I don't know what it is. I don't know. I can just look at when I decided, okay, I want to draw this as a comic. I hadn't drawn a comic before. I hadn't drawn, inked characters and inked landscapes and all that sort of stuff before. So I just sort of, I had my favorite books. If anyone's familiar with more French or European style comics, they might see a fair amount of influence in my work from there, because they're more of the comics that I was looking at in terms of, what kind of style am I going to go with here? And I don't know. If I showed you my first panel, you might get angry at me because it's pretty much looks exactly the same as all the other panels. I am getting better, but I don't know. I've been able to draw my whole life. The colors, not so much. The colors, there's a lot more of a science to the colors, and a lot more of technical.
There's a lot that goes into coloring.
Exactly. So the colors I did not get from the get-go. That was something I've always bugged me. And I felt like I was missing out on huge parts of the story. This is a visual storytelling medium. I was missing out on a lot of the emotion and a lot of the visual impact because my colors didn't, they didn't match the way that I needed them to. So I went back and I learned that.
Well, I mean, looking at what you've got, you seem to have worked that part out.
Oh, thank you.
Throwing that out there, I think that you might have figured it out a little bit.
It's good when that happens finally, because and I don't know. I guess I'm trying to make it sound easy. It's not easy, but it's a lot of work. And it doesn't all come very I can draw Ella quite easily. She always seems to just come out how I want her to most of the time. But the other guy, Damon, it took me a long time to figure him out. Because he's a young guy as well. He's in his late teens, the early 20s, but you can say 19, 20. I haven't quite figured that out where he is at yet. Because he's a bit of a strange character. He's a bit of an anomaly. But either way, it is actually quite difficult to draw guys at that age.
Oh yeah,
because they're on the cusp of being a boy and a man. And it's a real struggle. I really enjoyed. I got some older characters in there. Drawing older people is a lot of fun because you can kind of really go at it. But with the younger characters, especially the younger men, you put your pen half a millimeter too far down, and all of a sudden he can look like a boy or a really old, wizened man. And so it is a bit difficult to draw sometimes, but I think I'm figuring it all out.
Well, it looks like you're doing well. Okay, we have a couple more questions. So Luke wants to know, do you even didgeridoo?
Yes, I do. Not very well, but yeah, I'm Aussie. We have didgeridoos here, and we start young, and you just kind of pick it up. The key is to add in the little animal sounds. So it's hard to create a sustained note and make it all sound like you're doing anything. So then when you start slipping, you just chuck in a few kookaburras and galahs and weird sounds, and everyone will laugh, and then they won't notice that you can't really play very well.
Oh, good. No, so it's
Ask an Aussie about didgeridoos. They'll have an answer for you. Don't you worry about that.
Sleight of hand. And apparently that was exactly what he was hoping to hear. uh, Final question, unless I get some last minute ones in here. So is this your first comic book, and how did you come about it?
Well, look, very very quickly. Wrote this story for a long time as a novel. It didn't work. It's not the kind of story that I feel like should be a novel. And then I picked up a graphic novel. It was a French graphic novel, and I saw my story on the page. Well, I didn't literally see it, but it kind of zapped into my head. I was like, "Oh crap! This is a comic. I need to do this. I need to learn how to do this." And yeah, I've just been spending the last 5 years of my life, hours every day, figuring out how to make that happen. And for the longest time, I was doing it in relative obscurity. And then Comicsgate came around, and I waited and I waited and I bided my time. And then I jumped when I saw the moment was right. And thankfully, I seem to have jumped at the right time, because people seem to be jumping on it themselves. So yeah, that's good. Good to see.
Well, I think that this is a really great project, and I think that you have a lot of good passion behind it. You seem like you've spent a very long time trying to figure out exactly how you wanted this to go, how you wanted your characters to feel and behave, and it really, really shows. I definitely, I'm definitely happy that I backed when I did, because I feel like this is one that if I missed out on, I'd be very, very sad later.
Thank you.
we do have one question that made me laugh. Spurgy wants to know, can he buy a pickle for a nickel?
Well, not from me, and not in
Yeah.
Australia, because we don't have nickels in Australia. We have 5 cent, 10 cent, 20 cent, 50 cent, and dollar and $2 coins, and none of them are called nickels.
Yes.
So you're going to have to organize that on your own, I'm afraid, Spurg.
And I don't believe I have seen a pickle being sold for a nickel in the States in many a decade. So unfortunately, no.
You know what we do sell? We have fish and chip shops here. They're ubiquitous. Everyone in Australia loves a bit of fish and chips.
Yes.
And they'll have a jar. I don't know why this is, but they'll have a jar on the counter in every
Pickle
fish and
bag.
chip shop of pickled onions.
Onions, yes, that's the other one that they do. Pickled onions.
And yeah, I think they're around 60 cents. Maybe they've gone up lately in inflation. I haven't been in for a while, but yeah, you can buy a pickled onion for 1 coin, I'm sure. So I'll give you that.
Okay. So if you go to Australia, you can get yourself a pickled onion for a coin, not a nickel.
They are delicious.
But a coin. So I was stationed in England for a while, and chippies were one of my favorite things, and I have desperately been trying to recreate it here, and it's just not the same. I've gotten close, but it's definitely not the same. And the entire time I was there for 4 years, and I saw these pickled onions for 4 years. I love onions. I never had the guts to try them, because I was like, I feel like it's just not going to be my thing.
Well, Kimasavi's in the chat as well, and he's saying he's never seen anyone buy them ever, but they're always there. It's so weird, isn't it? I do recall. I have a memory. I don't know if it's fake or whatever, but I have a memory of buying a pickled onion from a fish and chip shop. But yeah, it's not something that you would see very often.
But it's kind of like all of the other things that I've seen that are like pickled things in jars. They're always around in specific places, and you never see somebody buy them, but you do see them like lessen in quantity. So someone's buying them, or
someone is obviously buying them. Otherwise, they wouldn't have them there.
Or they're throwing them away. I don't know what they're doing, but they're there for a reason. Oh my goodness.
It's an unusual situation.
We are right at the tail end of our hour, and I am so grateful that we were able to get you on, Mike. And we had some scheduling issues. We had me being kind of a dunce, and so I'm very happy we were able to get this fixed and get you on. The book looks amazing. We've got the links to it in the description. We also have them in the chat. I've got some really awesome mods that have been dropping them for me, because you guys are amazing.
How the chat, how the mods.
Thank you so much to everyone in the chat who has come out. You guys are just the best ever. Michael, thank you so much for making time for us. I know that it was kind of tricky in the middle of your work day, but we really appreciate having you on.
No, I'm humbled and appreciate you having me on, Shae, and I love your Ella outfit too.
my very subtle cosplay that is literally something that I would just wear going out, but that's
great.
what she wears. I'm down. It was one of the easiest cosplays for me to do. And I was like, I have all this.
Yeah, it's one thing that I really can't wait for, that I really want to show is, this is her at the start. Remember Luke Skywalker, what he got around with at the start of Star Wars. It wasn't what he was getting around with at the end, and I cannot wait to show people like her sort of change in personality and character and abilities as it goes on in the book, and how she's going to look too, because I think it's going to become quite iconic when I can kind of show all that stuff off. So
I'm excited.
It's going to take a while, but look, the longer it takes, the sweeter it's going to be when it all drops. That's the way I look at it.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for coming out. Thank you, everybody. Please like, share, and subscribe to Red Valkyrie. We just passed 800 subs. It is so awesome. You guys are amazing. Let's keep on going through and trying to get as many eyes as possible on the Lucent. Let's get this thing backed. I want to see it hit that 10K mark before it goes into any kind of extending, because damn it, if Michael has not worked his butt off and earned it, please make sure that you guys go on back, because it's an amazing book. And thank you so much, everyone, for being out. Loves to all of you, and we will definitely catch you all next time.
See ya.
Bye.